Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today in East Moline, the often forgotten city of the Quad Cities metropolitan area. And we're deep in the terrarium here to today investigate and look at the sights and hear the sounds and maybe smell the smells of the base rig of fish. So, without further ado, let's get Fish out here. Here he is. Wow.
Just like at a show.
All right, Fish. You see, you just strapped a bass on here. Why don't you tell us about this fine instrument?
So a couple years ago, I was searching through Reverb. I was looking for a new instrument to replace what I had been playing. And nothing wrong with it, but, something that fit more my style. So I saw this thing on there, and I fell in love with the wood grain. And I asked them if they could send me the very one that was in the pictures, and they did. And this is probably 2-3 years ago. Lo and behold, it has become my main instrument. I love this thing. It's been on just about every recording that I've done. Sounds great, looks great, plays great.
Awesome. You want to maybe play us something from like a texture song that, just to give us an idea of how it sounds?
Sure, this is one from a song that we have not quite recorded yet, but soon enough we will. All right. So, a lot to be said about this instrument. It's been on probably 20 to 30 recordings in its time. Only one set of strings. No, I'm just kidding. But, it's an ash body, and one thing about ash is it generally has a really cool wood grain, and unfortunately, the thing is heavy. It is a backbreaker, but, sometimes you got to make some sacrifices. Am I right, guys?
Well, while you got it there, do you have a preference on, say, string gauge, string brand?
So I generally use a medium gauge, about 105 through 45. I do Diodario a lot of the times. What I found best on this instrument. Now, with a lot of other brands, I like some of that stuff on my other instruments, but for this exact instrument, that's what I like.
Nice. Why don't you give us a rundown of like all the controls you got on there? It looks like you got a few knobs to work with and a couple switches there.
So this thing's a real spaceship on a bass, So you got your blend knob, which controls what pickup that you're on. You put it up in the center, you get both. You turn it towards the bridge, and you get the bridge pickup, obviously. You turn it towards the neck, and you get the neck pickup a little more. These days, I tend to use a lot more of the neck pickup. It sounds a lot meatier, a lot more like a P bass, but still not quite, nice soap bar. Now, over here you got the volume, and then you got a 3-band EQ, so you got your bass, your mids, and your treble. Then this little funky guy over here, 3-way toggle, is a mid-range selector. So you got 3 different options there, and, it all hurts. Then you got the active and passive switch here, which always active. I always am.
Nice. Sounds like you got some good tonal options there and good way to kind of sculpt your tone. Another thing I want to ask you about is the strap you got here. It's pretty cool. You got kind of a method to your mayhem with straps or a preference there?
Yeah, so I don't generally go for certain brands. Whenever I'm going to pick out a strap, it's generally I want to find one that matches my instrument. And on this, I went with it because it's got a nice blue on there, some cool doves and everything. And then you see I got my pin selection here, got some cool stuff from buddy of ours, Luke, this from Flat Black. This is his group that he does stuff with, a lot of oscillating and really interesting stuff. We got cool band there. I blanking on the name. I went and saw a show, Redstone Room, and saw the pin, and I had to have it. So then this one's, I am a fish, and I do love the cosmos. So what else can I say? And obviously textures, and I think this one really speaks for itself.
Very nice, very nice. Well, should we move on to another bass, you think?
Yeah, I'd be down to that.
All right. I can help do a switcheroo here if you got one you want me to point in the direction of. Hand that, and I'll take that.
Get that out of there. Who needs to be in tune, am I right?
What are you going to do with this guy? Yeah. Well, while you're getting tuned up there, why don't you say a few things about this instrument?
So I bought this bass right after I started playing bass, and this thing has given me countless headaches, but many a memory. With having the dual stacked knobs here, you got a 4-band EQ. You can do your bass, your low mids, your treble, your high mids, and then very much like my other one, you have a volume here and then a selector for your neck or your bridge. This is a early 90s Ibanez SR 800 made in the Fujijin factory in Japan, and they only made this color for 1 year, which I love this color. They call it Emerald Jade, and it is just absolutely gorgeous, and it sounds great when it works.
Very nice. Is there any particular songs that you use this on, like in the Textures catalog?
So this bass has only been on maybe 1 or 2 songs because most of its life it's been sitting collecting dust because electronics like to be tricky sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with that. So one of our recent releases, Do Right, this is actually the first time I had actually played this bass in a recording, and I really love how it turned out. It sounds great. It's nice and meaty. Oh, who doesn't love it?
Very nice, very nice. I recognize that one very well. Are these the DR Black Widow strings?
Oh yeah. Whenever I was getting this thing back up and going, I had quite a collection of these DR Black Beauties, and with it being such a dark color and having a real dark neck on that, I thought it would look real cool to have that black aesthetic with it. And yeah, so like I said, I have many different strings that I put with many different basses. Just depends on how they play on the instrument and how they feel.
Very nice. Yeah, the dark green with the black hardware reminds me of like a 90s Pontiac Sunfire, which is classic and looks very good. You have anything else you want to say about this one?
Not really. Let's get this out of here.
Let's get it out of here. Let's go to the next one, all right?
Let me get that, Jackson.
Hold that. We're a work in progress here, folks.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, we'll do that.
All right, we got it. Man, what is that? Is that like some sort of pentagram or what is this here? Why don't you shed some light on this guy?
So this is a Bootsy Collins signature model star bass, and it is a Warwick. I bought this bass 2 years ago yesterday, actually, and it is one that I don't play out live a lot because it has some pretty bad neck dive. It must have been a swimmer in high school. But, when you want to really get the funk out, you're going to get the funk out.
Yeah, I would say out of all your basses that you have, this is the most popular one, and the one that once Fish brings it out, everyone's got to ask about it. And so yeah, why don't you give us a little taste test here? Maybe play a riff or snippet of some that you would use this instrument on.
All right, I got you.
Wow, that was amazing. It's got a unique tone to it. I don't know really how to describe it. What are those pickups that are in there?
So these are a brand of pickups that Warwick uses in a lot of their basses, a lot of the rock basses and stuff like that. But you have a double jazz right here. You know, it's an interesting sound because you'd think this one would be a lot thicker and a lot meatier, but realistically, that gets a lot of that high end tone, and I mean you can really capture a lot with that. This middle pickup, just being the single coil right in the middle, collects a lot of that low end, but it sounds great. And this is also the last bass I've gotten set up, so it's nice and bright and crispy. You know, I got DR Pure Blues on here just because they sound great. They're what I found to really hold a good amount of tension on this and just really get that funky feeling.
Crispy indeed. Reminds me of the little crinklies there in the bottom of a pan when you go and get the 2 fish meal at Long John Silver's. Man, what an instrument, and just so eye popping. It just wow. Do you have anything else you need to say about it?
Funny enough, of all places that I could have found this instrument, I found it at a pawn shop, and good buddy of mine works there. Shout out to Tony Carducci. He sent me a message and said, "Hey, we got this bass in that I think you would really like to try out." And I was like, "All right, lay it on me. What is it?" So he sends me a picture of this, and I was at work one day, and I was like, "I'll be there. What time do you close?" And so I went in there, and I initially had plans to put this thing on layaway. I didn't want to pay it all off because you don't find these very often, and they're not exactly that cheap. So, I went in there, and then I drove home, and I went to go and grab a bass rig that I had actually traded towards this and to take it back. It was an acoustic bass amp, 1x15 with a 200-watt head. It was nice, but who wants to lug around a 1x15 that just is god awful to carry?
I sure as hell don't. But you mentioned it there. We should give a shout out here to Tony Carducci at Pond Central. He's helped out every single one of us in the band at one point or another. And if you have any questions on repairs or with guitars mainly, but check him out. All right, so while you have this in your hands, let's move on to the board here. Looks like a lot of fun stuff there. Yeah, why don't you just take us through your signal chain and then maybe give us a little taste test of some of your favorite things here.
All right, so I got to give a big shout out to my guy JB right here because we spent an 8-hour day wiring up some pedal boards, and he went through a lot of work to get me this nice, clean board. Now, my signal chain is a little wonky if you're really following the cables. In sense of tone, it makes sense, but tone is key. Tone is in the balls. So it starts out, it goes through my MXR bass preamp. You got to have that first. Get the sound where you want it before you really run it through any effects or anything. Then it runs through my wah, down into my whammy, my ricochet, goes up to my pog. Who doesn't love a good pog? Then it goes to my polytune, into my big muff, into my Ampeg scrambler, down into my electric mistress, right into that modulation, down into my MXR Phase 90, which is probably my most used pedal. I love that thing. Then you go into my Electro Harmonics monosynth and cap it off with a nice delay, the EHX Canyon.
Nice, and what's it all powered by there?
Well, this monstrosity here is powered by a couple things. So, obviously, you got to have a Strymon on a board. Everyone should. It's initially powered by the Strymon Zuma, so anything that requires 300 milliamps or more is gone through that because isolated 500 out of every port, you just need that for those higher power pedals. Now, everything else is powered through this Gator G bus. I know, Gator, am I right? It's great. Um, Now, the Gator G bus is actually powered by the Strymon as well. So essentially, the Strymon does power everything on this board, and it does it pretty well. Very rarely do I run into a power issue.
One feeds the other, just as humans operate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of good things here. I like the Phase 90 there. This isn't a Phase Mom. This is like the most popular phase on the market. It's the 90th phase that they came up with, and they just stuck with that recipe, and it's great. And it's even the script logo.
You know, I love good handwriting. What can I say?
Who doesn't? So why don't you just give us a little something here of some of your stuff here? Let's hear some stuff. All right.
All right. Now, here's my secret weapon. You see this little Nintendo controller on this board? It doesn't just do anything. It holds the picks.
All right, let's check it out, folks. Whoa. Look at all that. Sweet. You want that one?
I do want that one.
Too bad.
Oh, what a guy.
There you go.
What a guy. So, the CHX Canyon's a pedal that I've had for years. I think either that one or the Electric Mistress were the first two that I bought. And the Canyon sat off my board for a very long time. I didn't really have a use for a delay, but very recently I came up for a use.
Like it. It gives it kind of like a synth kind of ambience to it.
Yeah, so I keep it on a shimmer setting, and I keep the delay repeats kind of low, just because I don't want to bleed too much. And, you can get a little spacey, am I right? The Grand Canyon's pretty big.
That is true. It is quite a spot. So why don't we give us something else here?
All right. So you guys may know this song. Can I get my regular bass back?
Still trying to get the switcheroo down here, folks. We'll have it by the end of the episode. Trust me.
I highly doubt that. So this is a song off our second album, and I don't use harmonics a lot, but when I do, I need to boost them. And that's the only use I have for that pedal as of now. But don't worry, there's more. Let's see. So this Electric Mistress here, it can get a little deep, but who doesn't like it deep? On our song, which is also on our second album, Send News, I use that one on there, and it gets a really cool flange and kind of a deep chorus. Let's just check it out.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, it gives it a nice modulated sweep there. The flange. It's a little different than the chorus and the phase or even a univibe, but on bass especially, it sounds really lush.
Oh yeah, I much enjoy it. I tend to find some more uses for it in a jam setting over an actual song setting, but there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you just got to get the jam out. You know. Now this whammy ricochet right here. That's one I have not used in a recording, but I do very much enjoy throwing it in to a lot of live performances. I mean, sometimes you just got to take that bass down to another level and rock the house. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. Let's hear it. Wow, that was great.
Thanks. You can really only do your best. Am I right?
You are right. Let's move on to let's check out the what is the Pog? Is that one you haven't talked about yet?
So the Pog is one of those that I haven't found a use for in an original song, but I love playing it in Sledgehammer when we cover that one live. That's a lot of fun. It helps to really get that nice octave. Playing it up the neck makes it a lot easier than playing it further down. But I'll give you a little bit of a riff with her.
Give me a little bit of a riff with her. Wow, yeah, it almost makes it seem like you're playing like a 12-string bass or like an 8-string bass maybe.
I don't know if my mind can comprehend that many strings. That's why I play bass.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on here to the big muff there. What version of the muff is that? I see it's green, so it makes me think it might be like the Russian muff or tell me about the muff there.
I love my muff. I really only use it for, again, jam settings. When I'm playing something heavier, I like to toss this thing on. And, another great use for the scrambles to really amplify that, because when I die, bury me in the mix like a big muff.
It's what any bass player would want. Wow. Very nice. How about that monosynth there?
So I really do enjoy this monosynth because you can get some really funky sounds out of that thing. It can really get a lot of different settings on there, but I've only found a handful that I can really use for practicality settings. Anything too much, and it really starts wonking out on you. Yeah. Hence the word mono.
Man, it makes me feel like I'm about to watch like an 80s dark fantasy film, and that's cool.
That is cool, JB. It really gives you a nice synthy tone, and sometimes the song calls for a synth bass.
Sometimes it does. Well, is there anything else on there you want to talk about there, sport?
Not really. I mean, I got my poly tune that I don't even own. This guy does. That's the thing about musicians. We don't have enough money to buy our own stuff, so we got to borrow somebody else's.
Well, all right. I think you might have said you want to talk about a guitar here. You want to talk about something here real quick?
Yeah. Let me get that thing. Make a swap. We got it figured out, guys. So, I'm no guitar player. I don't consider myself one at all, but I initially got my start on guitar. Now this is a American Fender Telecaster, and who doesn't love a good classy white Telecaster? I mean, just look at it. It's like James Bond in a white suit, you know? And I actually do play this on one of our recordings, Do Right, in in a build section right at the end of the solo. You'll hear me with some real twangy, kind of real pokey tone, and yeah, that's me doing my thing with this thing, you know.
Pokey Tone, man, that was my nickname in high school. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to note on that bad boy before we move on to your amps?
So I actually bought this thing off of this guy right here. You know, he had a matching black and a white one, and the first time I played this thing, I really fell in love with it. I always loved a good Telecaster. I had a Telecaster back when I was in high school, and I sold it, and I regretted it ever since. And you know, he was looking to get rid of this thing, and I jumped on it. You can't really pass up a deal, and you know, it plays great. It sounds great. You can really get that Led Zeppelin tone. You know what I'm saying? Mm.
And again, I do know what you're saying. Well, I think that makes a good segue. Let's go to this amp stack back here. All right, I'll take that from you.
Yeah. Here, no.
We have no room left in the guitar boat over here. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna lean this back here.
Yeah.
All
Lean
right.
that up against that bad boy right there.
If that's not an ad to buy Fender stuff, then I don't know what is. Well, let's talk about this boy you got here. Or start wherever you want, I guess.
Well, yeah. Why don't we start with this Fender Rumble 40? I'm gonna come around here. So I'll take this. I got this amp because I wanted something for kind of smaller, lower volume gigs, and I was a big fan of the Fender Rumbles. So I found one that was the 1x10, you know, the 40 watt, and I really like the sound out of this thing. You can keep it low and get a nice practice sound out of it, or you know, like I said, a smaller profile gig. But then you move down here to this big boy, and that's 500 watts of pure power. So this one's a 2x10, and it has the capability of powering an external speaker. So it's 350 watts, you know, on its own, but has 150 watts that it'll power to an external. And I don't have an external because, realistically, I never need one. This thing gets loud enough. This is the first amp that I ever bought when I made the change over to bass, and it has done me well. Just about every gig I've played has been through that. Every recording I've ever done has been through that. That thing has seen a lot of gigs and beer. Now, this little guy up here, I needed a little practice amp when I was still dabbling with guitar a lot. And my good buddy Tony Carducci, he sold me this bad boy, and you know, sometimes when I'm sitting in my room and just want a quiet volume with something that doesn't take up a lot of space, I'll plug my bass into this thing, keep it low so I don't blow that speaker, because it's a little guy. It ain't got a lot of power. You know, the Fender Champion, it's a beautiful practice amp. Well worth the money. And then we'll move on to this beautiful masterpiece right here. So, in the mid-'90s, Fender put these out. This was a kind of a copy of the Bassman, but with a reverb tank built into it, and it's excellent. But that thing weighs entirely too much to take anywhere. So if you're looking for an amp that you want to gig with, you better get a road crew to carry this thing, because I don't want to carry it around. But it sounds great. It's a Blues DeVille, and it just looks cool. I mean, who doesn't love a good tweed amp? You know what I'm saying?
Who doesn't love a good tweed amp? And I do know what you're saying there. You know, while you're kind of giving your explanation of your amps, I was looking here. It looks like you got quite a bit of artwork here on the side. Looking at some of these stickers. The Planet 93.9, one of the greatest local radio stations we have here. And then I noticed one down below here says fart now loading. Please wait. Yeah, that's kind of intriguing. Why don't you explain that one there?
Well, you know, a bass player like me who's full of crap, you always got a fart loading. I mean, what can I say, really? I love to sticker bomb my amps, and that was actually the first one I slapped on there. JB and I here, we're going on our way to a gig in Rock Falls, actually, and I saw that at a truck stop, and I just had to have it, you know? You always have one on deck.
He had to have it, folks. He had to have it. Well, I mean that's a pretty good rundown there of everything you had. Is there anything else you want to say before we depart?
Hello, Quad Cities. I love you.
Hello, Quad Cities, indeed. Thank you very much.
We got her. You can take that bit out where I said Tone is in the balls, by the way.